He made one feeble effort to grab her wrist, but it was far too little and much too late. "That's you." She pulled the trigger. Blood came out of his ear and his head snapped briskly to the side. He looked like a man trying to free up a kink in his neck. On the TV, George Costanza said, "I was in the pool, I was in the pool." The audience laughed. 41. It was almost midnight, and the wind was blowing harder than ever. When it gusted, Lester Stroke's whole house shook, and each time Tess thought of the little pig who had built his house out of sticks. The little piggy who had lived in this one would never have to worry about his shitty house blowing away, because he was dead and his lazy boy. And he wasn't a little piggy, anyway, Tess thought. He was a big bad wolf. She was sitting in the kitchen, writing on the pages of a grimy blue horse tablet she had found in Stroke's upstairs bedroom. There were 4 rooms on the second floor, but the bedroom was the only one not stuffed with junk, everything from iron bedsteads to an Evinrude boat motor that looked as if it might have been dropped from the top of a 5-story building. Because it would take weeks or months to go through those caches of the useless, the worthless, and the pointless, Tess turned all her attention on Stroke's bedroom and searched it carefully. The blue horse tablet was a bonus. She had found what she was looking for in an old travel tote pushed to the very back of the closet shelf, where it had been camouflaged, not very successfully, with old issues of National Geographic. In it was a tangle of women's underwear. Her own panties were on top. Tess put them in her pocket and, pack-rat-like, replaced them with the coil of yellow boat line. Nobody would be surprised to find rope in a rapist-killer suitcase of trophy lingerie. Besides, she would not be needing it. "Tonto," said the Lone Ranger, "our work here is done." What she wrote, as Seinfeld gave way to Frasier and Frasier gave way to the local news, one Chicopee resident had won the lottery and another had suffered a broken back after falling from a scaffolding, so that balanced out, was a confession in the form of a letter. As she reached page 5, the TV news gave way to an apparently endless commercial for Almighty Cleanse. Danny Vieira was saying, "Some Americans have a bowel movement only once every 2 or 3 days, and because this has gone on for years, they believe it's normal." Any doctor worth his salt will tell you it's not. The letter was headed to the proper authorities, and the first 4 pages consisted of a single paragraph. In her head it sounded like a scream. Her hand was tired, and the ballpoint pen she'd found in a kitchen drawer, Red Hawk Trucking printed in fading gilt on the barrel, was showing signs of drying up, but she was, thank God, almost done. While little driver went on not watching TV from where he sat in his lazy boy, she at last started a new paragraph at the top of page 5. I will not make excuses for what I have done. Nor can I say that I did it while of unsound mind. I was furious and I made a mistake. It's that simple. Under other circumstances, those less terrible, I might say. It was a natural mistake, the two of them look almost enough alike to be twins. But these are not other circumstances. I have thought of atonement as I sat here, writing these pages and listening to his television and to the wind, not because I hope for forgiveness, but because it seems wrong to do wrong without at least trying to balance it out with something right. Here Tess thought of how the lottery winner and the man with the broken back evened out, but the concept would be difficult to express when she was so tired, and she wasn't sure it was germane. Anyway, I thought of going to Africa and working with AIDS victims. I thought about going down to New Orleans and volunteering at a homeless shelter or a food bank. I thought about going to the Gulf to clean oil off birds. I thought of donating the $1 million or so I have put away for my retirement to some group that works to end violence against women. There must be such a society in Connecticut, perhaps even several of them. But then I thought of Doreen Marquis, from the Knitting Society, and what she says once in every book. What Doreen said at least once in every book was murderers always overlook the obvious. You may depend on it, dears. And even as Tess wrote about atonement, she realized it would be impossible. Because Doreen was absolutely right. Tess had worn a cap so that she wouldn't leave hair that could be analyzed for DNA. She had worn gloves which she had never taken off, even while driving Alvin pickup. It was not too late to burn this confession in Lester's kitchen wood stove, drive to Brother Alvin's considerably nicer house of bricks instead of house of sticks, get into her expedition, and head back to Connecticut. She could go home, where Fritzy was waiting. At first glance she looked clear, and it might take the police a few days to get to her, but get to her they would. Because while she had been concentrating on the forensic molehills, she had overlooked the obvious mountain, exactly like the killers in the Knitting Society books. The obvious mountain had a name, Betsy Neal. A pretty woman with an oval face, mismatched Picasso eyes, and a cloud of dark hair. She had recognized Tess, had even gotten her autograph, but that wasn't the clincher. The clincher was going to be the bruises on her face. I hope that didn't happen here, Neil had said, and the fact that Tess had asked about Alvenstroke, describing his truck and recognizing the ring when Neil mentioned it. Like a ruby, Tess had agreed. Neil would see the story on TV or read it in the newspaper, with 3 dead from the same family. How could she avoid it? And she would go to the police.